Chapter 123. Enrique Manada had been true to his word. Sitting around a garish pink table at the Dostoevsky restaurant, Ryan, Len, and the panda examined the plans of Dynam's gravity gun. Though the gravity rifle would have been a better name for it. The device was long and impractical, though the courier was certain they could miniaturize it. As Livia had promised, the Dostoevsky was a Russian all-you-can-eat buffet located at New Rome's periphery and catering almost exclusively to families. The restaurant could have easily accommodated hundreds of patrons, though Ryan's girlfriend had rented the entire restaurant for a private gathering. The floor was carpeted with industrial, blue flooring, with the food steam trays decorated with fish imagery. Staff members were dressed in sailors' attire, and the tables smelled of ice cream. Somehow, the comforting atmosphere put even the usually shy Len at ease. Everyone had come dressed casually for the occasion, even Ryan. The other guests hadn't arrived yet, though the courier didn't doubt they would. Nobody in their right mind would miss the garish neon lights advertising the restaurant on the roof. A few seconds after being fired, the projectile creates a gravitational anomaly, Timmy explained, after reviewing the schematics. It was so odd to see him without his costume on in human form. He looked so scrawny and ordinary, with a shy, gentle smile. Everything in its vicinity is pulled towards the sphere, while it counteracts the Earth's pull. So, if I understand correctly, and I almost always do, Ryan said, the sphere will pull lightning but towards itself, and then fly up. His Padawan nodded. According to Dynam's calculations, the gravity gun will expel him from the upper atmosphere. After that, the sphere will wander through the solar system without ever returning home. Ryan immediately saw where Dynamis found the inspiration for that plan. They wanted to cars Augustus. Cars? Len asked with a frown. Ryan silently vowed to remedy her complete absence of pop culture knowledge. I understood that reference. The panda said happily. Every time you open your mouth, my young Padawan, my faith in humanity is renewed, his mentor congratulated him. But will it work? Len asked with skepticism. Augustus can fly. By manipulating electric charges to ionize air, Ryan pointed out. He shouldn't be able to fly outside the atmosphere. However, if he breaks the sphere before reaching space. Len frowned. Do you think it could work, Rory? Livia doesn't believe so. At least not without support. Well, it's not like I'm going to rely on only one secret weapon. His main plan was to lure Lightning Butt to Monaco and trap him there permanently, while beating him up into submission with his black flux power remained a secondary option. We could make copies and distribute them to our group, Len suggested. I could replace my water rifle with it. No, too dangerous, Ryan said. For it to work, I will need to fire it in close combat. Better to use our limited time on miniaturizing this gravity gun and install it in my armor. Only your armor? Shorty's eyes widened. Rary, you can't mean. Dynamis Gardener-in-Chief had a point. When people dare the lightning to strike them, they die. Ryan had seen Augustus tear apart Big Adam's jaw with a backhand, shatter Sunshine's core, and survive the following supernova. New Rome's tyrant was, by far, the most powerful foe the courier had ever faced. There was no room for error with him. I'll take Mob Zeus on alone. Sifu, no. The panda protested in panic. That's suicide. He's right, Rary, Len added while folding the schematics. I'm coming with you. I'm the only one who can even harm him, Ryan replied. And his immunity to my time stop means I'll have a hard time saving anyone caught in the crossfire. If he kills me, I can come back from it. Hopefully. Len looked ready to protest, when the restaurant's door slammed open and a green-haired Spitfire walked into the place. Hola! The young woman said in mangled Spanish, before switching back to Italian. She dressed so trashily that Ryan almost missed the hazmat suit. What's up, boys and girls? Hey, Bianca. Ryan welcomed her with a raised hand. What will you start with? Caviar? Blinis? Borscht? I'll try everything, El President, the former siren snickered, as a blonde, shy woman and a scrawny man followed her. A giant more than 2 meters tall closed the march, though he struggled to fit through the restaurant's doors. "I've got years of sensory deprivation to make up for." "Hello." The former acid rain smiled shyly at Ryan's group. The contrast with her deranged former self couldn't be starker. "Oh, hi Helen." The panda waved a hand at them. "Hi, Mongrel." "Not Mongrel," the latter replied. With his knockoff elixirs out of his system, the former psycho looked healthy and most importantly, sane again. "It's Jerome now. I don't want to have a supervillain nickname ever again." "You should still pick one," Ryan said. "We'll need you to improve our cure, and maybe even help us with weapons in hand." The former Mongrel shrugged. "Look, I owe you guys a life debt, and I'll pay it back. But once it's done, I never want to have anything to do with elixirs or fighting for the rest of my life. Years as a savage animal make you appreciate a normal 9-to-5 existence like nothing else. You freed me from a long nightmare. Cured me, and gave me my life back." Helen bowed to Ryan deeply. "If I can do anything to help, I will do it. Even if it means picking up arms again." "Yeah, none of us are finks here," Bianca said. "Even Frank feels he owes you one. That, and he's eager to burn down the establishment." Ryan glanced at the last member of the group as he walked inside the restaurant. Though he was no longer the colossus he had once been, the man was still over 2 meters tall, and slightly balding. His middle-aged face reminded Ryan of Marshal Zhukov, tough and blunt, but also someone you could have a good time fishing with. His gray parka and heavy boots made him look like a soldier ready to go to war. "My name is not Frank," the giant replied with a heavy Russian accent. "My name is Vladimir. Or Vlad, like the Impaler." "Whatever you say," Bianca replied, before moving on to the buffet. Helen hurriedly followed after her, while Jerome asked the waiters about the nearest toilets. "I never knew I would say that, but I liked you more as an American." Ryan agreed. Frank had been a true patriot, enthusiastic, loyal, amusing. While his real self. "It was capitalist brainwashing," Vlad the Mad replied. "They know they cannot stop the revolution, so they infect the workers' minds with microchips and polluted ideas." His real self was a total killjoy. Worse, Len immediately recognized a kindred spirit. "Are you a Marxist-Leninist?" she asked hopefully. Vlad the Mad's eyes lit up in enthusiasm, and he immediately sat right next to Shorty. Thankfully, the tables were meant for 6 and could accommodate the giant just fine. "I am a Trotskyist," he said with pride. "Only through permanent revolution can the workers of the world achieve equality for all." "I thought the communists were almost extinct?" Timmy asked naively. "No, you would fit right in," Ryan said. "But only in panda form. You think equality is something to joke about?" Vlad squinted at Ryan. "You think neoliberal oppression is funny?" Ryan sighed. That one took everything seriously, and didn't have a humorous bone in his body. No, I'm all for protecting endangered species, even Marxists. Comrade Lenin may be dead, but his ideas live on," Vlad the Mad replied with passion. Ryan would rather like it the other way around, but Len was so overjoyed to meet another commie that she started grilling him about political theory. "Do you think universal equality can still be achieved in a neo-capitalist world like this one?" "Of course," Vlad replied, while Helen teleported his empty plate and replaced it with one full of beef. With the psycho treatment having separated her two powers, the former acid rain could switch the position of items of near equivalent mass, including herself. The workers of the world have never been more oppressed. The only thing they lack to take back the means of production is awareness of their own strength. As he watched Len grin, Ryan had the feeling that these two would become BFFs in no time. He wondered if he had created a monster. "I prefer social democracy," the panda tried to meekly participate in the debate. Vlad the Mad's answer was the acme of subtlety. "And that is why this country is bleeped." The next batch of newcomers arrived. "This is a waste of my valuable time," Alchimo complained crankily as he stepped into the restaurant, his daughter and a toaster on wheels following. "I do not need solid food. Dad, it's not the food that matters, But the company, the doll insisted, before greeting everyone. Hi. Meanwhile, Toasty wasted no time bothering Helen and Bianca. The toaster on wheels rolled all the way to the buffet, to Acid Rain's confusion. Hey, beauties, do you want your blinis toasted? It asked. Or raw? Is the toaster talking? Helen asked Bianca, who shrugged before buttering a blini with low-quality caviar. The last group arrived afterward, keeping the best for last. Matthias walked into the restaurant with his dazzlingly golden girlfriend holding his arm, while Livia and Felix exchanged words behind them. Ryan observed his girlfriend from head to toe, recognizing her clothes as the black coat she loved so much. Discreet, yet elegant. Lovely, he said when Livia returned his gaze. You're not so unfortunate yourself, she replied with a wink, before glancing at Fortuna. Do you mind if I take my knight aside for a moment? It's fine, Livy, her best friend replied, before putting one arm around her boyfriend's, and another around her brother's. These gentlemen will keep me company. The things I do for family, Felix grumbled, though his heart wasn't in it. You're anticipating a bit too much on that front, Matthias said. No, he isn't, Fortuna insisted with a blissful gaze, before dragging them aside to their own table. Ryan abandoned his own group to settle with Livia near a window. Their table was meant for two and isolated from the rest, and provided a cozy kind of intimacy. Livia nodded at a waiter, and a familiar tune started playing in the restaurant. Why are they playing the Reigns of Castamere? Ryan asked, upon recognizing the music. Because Matthias still half suspects me of treachery, and will recognize the reference, Livia said, glancing at the vigilante. Though Matthias sat with his girlfriend and Felix, he often glanced at Ryan's table. Jerome's return from the toilets quickly distracted him though, as an unusually kind Fortuna invited him to join their group. I like to make him squirm. You're a cruel, wicked woman, the courier accused his girlfriend. Would you rather that I disguise myself as a hockey killer and ambush him? She asked, as a waiter gave them a glass of vodka each. I'm surprised you didn't assault Luigi yet. I made him pay for his slight against me tenfold already, Ryan replied while sipping his glass. I'm not that vengeful, especially on a potential perfect run. Good. Livia glanced through the window, and at the parked cars outside. Ryan's was the most dashing of the lot, though his girlfriend's Ferrari gave the Plymouth Fury a run for its money. Is everyone else here? Only Dr. Stitch, and he chose to work on the bloodstream vaccine plague rather than join us, Ryan said. Sunshine and Co. are destroying Mecron's remaining bases as we speak. They'll sit this one out, at least for now. Good. If my father catches wind of their presence in the city, it will mean war. Ryan frowned. How are things going on that front? Geist's demise woke my father up from his inaction. Livia played with her glass, her expression darkening. He suspects the Meta Gang. From his point of view, he hasn't heard of their activities in a few days, right as Geist mysteriously vanishes. Obviously, he suspects a connection. He has heavily reinforced security around Ischia Island, and authorized Vulcan's plans to take back Rust Town. At least so far. So far. Wyvern made a surprise visit to Vulcan early tonight, and she left the foundry both alive and unharmed. My father hasn't been informed yet, but once he is, he will grow suspicious of Vulcan's allegiances. Livia glanced at her boyfriend with a quizzical eyebrow. What did you say to Wyvern? How to patch up with an old friend, Ryan replied with a sigh. I owed it to Jasmine. Livia smiled, and for once the courier didn't detect any hint of jealousy in his girlfriend's expression. I understand. Do you think it will work? The courier asked. He was glad that Dragon Mom listened to his advice, but it took New Rome's destruction by an orbital satellite for Jasmine and her to reconcile. I give Vulcan a 50-50% chance to take Wyvern on her olive branch, and I will make sure to warn her if my father issues a kill order. She will make it out alive, whatever the case. Thanks, Ryan said. His fingers brushed softly against Livia's, to her joy. Is it all right to come here though? Your daddy is in the paranoid phase. He is, but I mollified him somewhat when I brought Sishak to cancel. Officially, I'm meeting with Genome mercenaries to help us take down the Meta Gang. She winked at him. Dad is too happy that I am taking my future role of leader seriously to look too much into my activities. Damn it, I should have asked to be paid in advance, Ryan said. That was a missed opportunity. Whatever happens to Vulcan, my family will occupy Rust Town again soon, and this time they will examine the area thoroughly. Livia sighed. There's a strong possibility they might discover the bunker, even if we condemn the entrances. So we'll have to destroy it. Ryan had expected as much. Take what we can, and blow up the rest. It's better that way, his girlfriend replied. Things like the Bahamut orbital laser and robot armies will only lead to disaster. Truth be told, I'm not sure what to do about Micron's knockoff production process, Ryan confessed. I considered offering Dynamis the necessary technology, but not until after Green Hand is fully in charge. Unless you're putting your veto. I might. She joined her hands and looked at the night sky beyond the window. If all goes well for us, my father would be ousted from power, as will Hector and Alphonse Manada. At which point, both my family's empire and Dynamis will be weakened. After reforming both, I intend to propose a merger to Enrique Manada. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You want to form a new government? The new European Republic, Livia said with a foxy grin. How does that sound? The fearsome nerve. The time traveler chuckled. I think it's already taken. In the old world, not the new, Livia defended her choice. And you're going to be part of it. Moi. What? She laughed at his confusion. You always joked about becoming a president. Don't you want to become the Albert to my Victoria? Ryan chuckled while finishing his vodka. When did you upgrade from princess to queen? When you called me Queen Crimson, she said before giving him a dirty gaze. You'll look good with a tie on. Only if you wear a matching suit. Red and black, she replied, before finishing her own vodka. Mecron's knockoff technology could help this newborn nation, or it might create more tensions in Europe. I'll need to examine the future in depth after we prevail, to see how it will go. Ryan's expression deflated. If we prevail. Even if we don't, now that you have saved, we will remember everything. We can try again. She expected him to say something, but grew suspicious when he remained silent. Ryan, what are you hiding from me? The courier sighed. I'm having performance issues. With your power. Livia's eyes widened. You couldn't save. No. My elixir, or maybe the Violet Ultimate One itself, won't let me. I don't know why. Is it about your other power? The one you used to kill Geist across multiple timelines. Livia took his hands into her own, her steely gaze demanding answers. Ryan, don't you think it's about time you tell me? Ryan sighed, and told her everything. He gave her the details of his expedition in the Black World, about his power's inner workings, and how it interfered with the space-time continuum. The more he spoke, the more she scowled. Although to his surprise, Livia didn't appear worried. The elixirs and ultimate ones grant us our wishes, she said with a sad frown. What did you ask for to get a power like this? Ryan answered bluntly, I wanted to die. His girlfriend bristled, but her sorrow quickly turned into hope. You wanted to die, past tense, she said. Now you want to live. Sharp. I had lost too much, with little to fight for anymore. Ryan glanced at the people around him. By now, Len was smiling while the panda and Vlad the Mad exchanged pleasantries, all red on vodka. The doll managed to make Olchimo relax a bit, while Helen grew more at ease as Toasty's terrible flirting attempts alleviated her mood. Bianca soon joined their table with a plate full of food, while Jerome toasted glasses with Matthias, Fortuna, and Felix. That's not the case anymore. Livia beamed with happiness. You gathered all these people, Ryan, she said, her gaze lingering on the former psychos among them. In some cases, you saved their lives, in more ways than one. They are here for you. With you. You most of all, Ryan said. She blushed and beamed with joy like a sunflower, warming the time traveler's heart. This is why I'm not so worried about the Ultimate One's plans for you, Livia declared. If it weren't for its influence, we wouldn't have met each other. If it encourages you to see this loop through to the end, even without saving, then it means it has something in store for you. Unfortunately, a doubt quickly gnawed at her heart. But if everything you destroy with that power stays destroyed? She trailed off. If you kill Father. I won't, Ryan said. I swear. I might imprison him, but I won't slay him. Livia examined him carefully, before nodding to herself. All right. That's all? I trust you, my prince. It's as simple as that. You always fulfilled your promises, and I know you will follow through with that one. Her expression twisted into a frown. Could your power cut out the tumor? Maybe, Ryan said, though he had no intention of saving Lightning but from himself. Or I might accidentally give him a wound he will never recover from. I'm sorry. Livia nodded to herself, but didn't insist. She had already made peace with the fact her father's days were numbered, largely by his own fault. I'm already asking a lot from everyone to spare my father, especially after all he has done, she admitted. Ordering his victims to help cure him would be greedy. Bruno Costa could have saved him, and he blew that chance anyway. Now, he won't even let his daughter Narcinia out of that cursed island. What additional defenders can we expect? Mars and Vulcan, for a start, Livia answered. And Pluto and the Killer 7 have orders to reinforce the factory at the first sound of an alarm. Ryan crossed his arms. Almost all of these people needed to go for the Augusty to reform, Bacchus included. This could actually work in our favor. I thought the same, his girlfriend replied. I could pull strings to have Mercury added to the security detail while sending Uncle Neptune away. With so many Olympians gathered in one area, we could cut the rot from the family. Venus, we can capture easily. The old Mercury? Ryan asked in confusion. Isn't he retiring? He will only do so if he feels the organization's power is secure, Livia explained. That man was in the Camorra even before my father took it over and transformed it into the Augusty. He dedicated his life to this organization, and he won't let it fall without a fight. In that case, the purge would leave only people like Neptune, who wanted to go legit, and Augustus himself. Still, Ryan could tell that his girlfriend worried that the raid might go wrong. Ending the battle with little to no casualties would be a trial. I have a surprise for you, the courier said. Something that will cheer you up. Truly. She squinted at him. I haven't been able to guess what. Because I built it in a thin place, so you wouldn't notice. Build it? Ryan magically pulled blueprints from under his shirt, and showed them to his girlfriend. The plan detailed power armor, based on the Saturn model. That suit was leaner though, and adapted to a female wielder. Its plates were red as blood, its visor black as night, and a white spider symbol was painted on the chest. Most important of all, this model had traded the ear-like antennae for 8 telescopic tentacles of reinforced steel. Queen Crimson, I present to you the OP's armor. Ryan smiled as Livia gasped in shock. Tailor-made for you. Ryan, I can't wear this, she said, while covering her mouth with her hands. If the others identify my powers on the Bliss raid, I wasn't thinking about Bliss Island, Ryan said softly. How about we fight nuclear proliferation together? Livia's eyes widened, as her fingers moved to seize the schematics and examined them closely. She gawked at the smooth helmet, at the elegant metal tentacles that would make any Japanese schoolgirl squeal, at the dashing spider symbol on the chest. I love it, Livia said, blushing. Why a spider theme though? It uses an extra arm and drone system too difficult for most pilots to master. Unless they can see the future. Besides, you're scheming and sensible like a spider. His lovely princess pouted. You make me sound like an evil mastermind. Evil. He approached his head closer to her own to whisper in her ear. Misunderstood. She giggled. You're an angel, Ryan, his girlfriend said before kissing him on the cheek. Which is why I brought a surprise for you too. You did? Ryan asked, suddenly excited. It's not even my 886th birthday yet. It's on the roof. You'll love it. He did. his girlfriend dragged him to the restaurant's roof, where she had a fascinating device installed behind the neon lights, a 3 meters tall rocket, orange like an apple and rugged like a tank. A skeletal psycho could be seen screaming behind the porthole, his voice muffled by the steel, his powers suppressed by a powerful heater. Goal had been a sociopathic killer before becoming a psycho according to Ryan's research, and Livia predicted that he would keep murdering people even if cured. Though several other captive members of the meta-gang were monsters even with a cure and would need to be imprisoned for the good of everyone else, the Bag of Bones was by far the worst of them. The others might be cured, tried, and maybe even rehabilitated after a lengthy period of imprisonment. But Goal would never change. The courier had jokingly suggested exiling his undead chew toy to space as an alternative to destroying him with his black power, but he would never have imagined that Livia would take him seriously. According to Vulcan, this rocket can go all the way to Pluto, Livia explained. The planet, or the genome? Ryan asked innocently, marveling at this gift like a child before a new PlayStation. Whichever you want. Also, Pluto is a dwarf planet now. You don't diss Pluto in my presence, princess. Ryan's fingers brushed against the rocket, basking in the rough feeling of steel and the smell of oil. Vulcan even added a string fuse to the reactor, like a petard. How did she build something so beautiful in a few days? She didn't. Livia gave him a sheepish smile. I cheated a bit. She actually built it a year ago as a prison for Wyvern, but gave up on the idea when she realized that Wyvern would break out of it. I just asked her to add a few modifications, and gave her the data needed to improve the prototype. Ryan squinted in disbelief. She wanted to send Wyvern to Pluto. Livia closed her eyes and nodded. Strange minds thought alike. Still good, Ryan said, deeply moved. You shouldn't have. You really shouldn't have. But I did. Livia offered him a lighter. Wanna do it together? Sure, he replied before taking her hands into his own. I'll let you pick the destination. Pluto? Venus? The Sun? Livia gave it some thought. In orbit around the Earth, in case we ever need him to bring him back. What, really? Ryan, he's also immortal, Livia giggled. Sending him to Pluto would be really cruel. Maybe gazing at the Earth for a few decades will reform him. Ryan had his doubts, but indulged his girlfriend all the same. And so, they romantically lit the fuse together. Goal screamed and panicked as the flames progressed closer to the reactor. Is it safe from this distance? Ryan asked, suddenly realizing standing on the same roof might prove dangerous. And the others are right below. Shush, his girlfriend said gently. It's okay. Oh, all right, if she said so. What did you call it? Ryan asked, as the fuse reached the reactor. Spotches, Livia replied. The reactor activated, but to Ryan's surprise, no flame came out. Instead, the rocket suddenly jerked upward without a sound, not even shaking the roof below it. The device flew into the air silently, a faint red flux glow shining below the reactor. An anti-gravity effect? The courier would have preferred a big fiery explosion, but he waved his favorite undead astronaut goodbye all the same. And so, Ryan and Livia hugged while Goal vanished in the skies to restart space exploration. Both knew it might be their last moment of peace before a series of harsh trials to come. They would have to destroy Lab 66, follow up with the Bliss Factory in quick succession before the August he could mobilize, and finally topping off the spree with Mob Zeus himself. From now on, they would have to run the gauntlet. Chapter 124. New Rome looked gorgeous from above. The city breathed life. Millions of people returned from work as the sun started vanishing beyond the horizon, like the blood cells of a giant organism. The lights of casinos' neon signs and street lights formed a sea of light, some red, others green, and all the other colors of the rainbow in between. The whole place smelled of sin, but most importantly, it smelled of life. New Rome rivaled the greatest old-world metropolises in size, making it the New World's lighthouse. It was a beacon of hope for mankind, the promise of a bright future where humans would rise from their own ashes and rebuild. Ryan couldn't let this city die. Yet already a virus was at work, insidiously infecting thousands of genomes, laying the ground for a worldwide pandemic. And though he had the cure safely contained in his Saturn armor's backpack, dealing with this disaster would only summon another. "We're in position," Ryan declared through his armor's intercom. Livia was playing with her own Neopi's armor in the clouds to his left. "Waiting for the signal, buddy." 2 video feeds appeared inside his helmet, one projected on each lens. The left one came from Shorty's own power armor, as she, Enrique, and a group of private security bodyguards climbed the lift to Lab 66. The right one showed Felix, Wyvern, and half of Illinois Migliore waiting in front of Hector Manada's mansion. The latter feed was of a poorer quality, as a dynamic camera drone provided it. "We're ready to move in too," Felix said, before turning at his teammate. Wyvern nodded as she took flight, followed by Devilry, while Reload and Wardrobe remained on the ground. Even a poorer feat couldn't ruin her in Ryan's eyes. Her law enforcement costume was the acme of chic. Oh, can't I wear the Chuck Norris costume?" Wardrobe asked with enthusiasm. "I feel this is now or never." "Another time," Wyvern replied with a chuckle, before touching her Arkham. "Enrique. Go ahead with the arrest," the CBO answered as his group reached the entrance of Lab 66. Enrique bypassed the biometric defenses, allowing his team to move inside the dreaded knockoff production facility. "Romano, you can start any time." "Are you sure your men are loyal?" Ryan asked. "I mean, they're called the private security. They don't work for the public good. I handpicked this strike force myself, and I would trust them with my life," the corporate hero replied. "It's not for my life you should worry. Your job is the most dangerous one." Well, Ryan had a lot of experience with the bums. "You're sure Fat Man will learn of this raid?" "Certain. He has moles inside this building, and an alarm system to inform him of any breach of Lab 66 he didn't authorize himself. When he returns to New Rome, his rage will know no bounds." Well, that explained how Fallout managed to respond so quickly to Ryan's raid during his meta run. However, the living nuclear disaster had already moved to the city at that time, while he should be in Sicily right now. Enrique marked a short pause, as if reconsidering the plan. "Are you certain you and Miss Auguste can handle my brother on your own? He fought your girlfriend's father, and walked away alive." Ryan chuckled. Was there a hint of concern he detected in his voice? "I never said my girlfriend was an Auguste. You're not the only one with an information-gathering apparatus, quick save. Though yours trumps mine by a wide margin, I will grant you that." The manager cleared his throat. "You understand that I'm taking a huge risk by trusting you on this, and I expect a show of goodwill. I'm not going to kill your brother, don't worry. Though they might have to redraw the map by the time they were done. I'm all for nuclear energy. But only for peaceful purposes." "Good," Enrique replied, his tone suddenly much less friendly. "Because otherwise, all I can say is that you will never see me coming." "Well, if your shiny big brother kills me, could you do the floral arrangement for my funeral?" Ryan asked. "Surprise me. I will bring lilies and carnations." "By now, you should know I'm a flytrap guy," Ryan replied. However, before moving on with the plan, the courier contacted his sister through a private line. Stitch had removed the infectious bloodstream agent in Letton's blood, so she shouldn't transform even in close proximity to her father, but still. "You're sure you want to go alone, Shorty?" "Yes, Rary," she answered before gathering her breath. I appreciate what you're trying to do. Support me. But in this case, I need to do it on my own." "I understand," he replied, watching them enter Dr. Tyranno's lair. The good reptilian doctor was typing on a computer in the room where Ryan's team fought Alphonse Manada in the previous loop. The clones of Illinois Migliore's members floated in advanced mechanical vats, their body fluids extracted to create knockoff elixirs. "Sir?" Tyranno rose up from his seat and hastily covered his computer's screen. Shorty's feed caught a file's title before he managed to do so, Monster Girl Project, test log. "I didn't expect you today." "No, you didn't," Enrique replied, hands behind his back like a corporate supervillain. Len's gaze, and the video feed, lingered on the clones in the pods. Quite a few members of Enrique's escort lowered their laser rifle weapons at the sight. Holy! One of Enrique's guards said, before noticing Wyvern's scale double. Is that Wyvern? Did we grow her in the lab? Wait, are we clones too? Another soldier in power asked. Is that why we are paid so little? Because we were programmed to shut up from birth? No, you aren't paid much because my father was trying to cut corners, Enrique replied dryly. You would have been paid half as much if he had had his way. I covered the difference from my own pocket. Still, you're sure you want us to film this, sir? A private security member asked, anxious. If the world learns we're doing this kind of stuff behind closed doors. I know, but it has to be done, Enrique said with a sigh, before glancing at Tyranno. Pack your things, Doctor. We're terminating the knockoff program. What? Dr. Tyranno choked at this. But sir, you can't. I received no order from management. I can, and I will. As for management, we're currently facing some turnover. Your brother will kill us all if he knows. Dr. Tyranno kept protesting, before clarifying his fear. He's going to kill me for letting you in. Enrique didn't flinch. I will take responsibility for Alphonse and assume responsibilities for my actions today. You have nothing to fear, Doctor. It doesn't help. I can't let you do 4 laser rifles red pointers aimed at his head, and a 5th between his legs. The scientist quickly raised his hands in surrender. Boris, how many times will I have to tell you? Enrique told one of his bodyguards with exasperation. Not the nuts. He's keeping a secret weapon there, sir, the guard defended his choice of target, which Ryan found the wisest of them all. I can feel it in my bones. In any case, Doctor, we have ample proof that this project will lead to a disaster. If I were you, I would worry more about the weapons pointed at you than my brother's wrath. Enrique turned to his men. Put up the explosives. I want nothing on this floor to remain usable. Sabino and I will deal with the source of it all. Ryan could almost see Len flinched behind the camera, but she followed without a word as Blackthorn and Tyranno entered Bloodstream's room. And then, she saw what remained of her father. Ryan couldn't help but shudder upon seeing him through the video feed. The alien creature Bloodstream had become floated helplessly inside a large, reinforced glass container. Its body bloody red, and its all too human eyes glancing at Len. Could it still recognize her, even without the infectious agent in her body? Father. Len put a hand on the glass, her voice breaking. She faced the creature's countless eyes, none of them showing intelligence. Do you recognize me? Silence answered, and Len lowered her head in despair. Ryan gave his sister some privacy and switched to the other feed. By now, Wyvern's group was already confronting Hector Manada in his garden. The old chairman of Dynamis had been busy working on his roses when the superheroes surrounded him. His bodyguards had hands on their laser rifles. What is the meaning of this? Hector asked, immediately realizing something was wrong. Wyvern wasted no time in laying down the law. Hector Manada, you are under arrest for human experimentation, drug fraud, bioterrorism, funding organized crime, weapon trafficking, and virtually every medical crime private courts have a provision for. Add crimes against fashion. Wardrobe added, looking judgmentally at the chairman's dirty shirt and pants. That outfit is hideous. Arresting me? Hector asked, more shocked than afraid. I sign your paychecks. We're doing this pro bono, Felix said with a shrug. Wyvern handed her former CEO a paper document. Here is our mandate. Hector's expression deflated as he read. This is Enrique's signature, he said, his voice breaking. My own son. And the board's, Wyvern added, pointing at other signatures. We have overwhelming evidence that you funded and armed the Meta Gang, making you an accomplice to their crimes, and poisoned the knockoff elixirs with a psycho's biological agent. Either would be grounds for summary execution, but we believe in the rule of law. If you surrender without a fight, you will be entitled to a fair trial. A fair trial. I run this city. The chairman ground his teeth, before glancing at the other members of Illinois Miliori. Devilry, reload, sorry, ex-boss, reload interrupted him with a hint of disgust. I can't close my eyes on something this big, even for €1 billion. It's Lex Luthor level shit. I don't care much either way, Devilry said bluntly. But you ain't solvent anymore. Hector clenched his jaw, observed the determined heroes facing him. His bodyguards looked ready to open fire. Are you really going to try fighting us? Felix asked, before pointing at Wyvern. We've got a dragon. The bodyguards exchanged glances, realized they weren't paid enough to die for a corrupt billionaire, and lowered their weapons. Hector looked ready to protest, but by now realized that he was only one man facing the powerful superheroes he had spent millions recruiting. I'm calling my lawyers, he said, giving up without a fight. Of course, Wyvern replied, unimpressed. Wardrobe, if you would. Wardrobe manifested handcuffs out of thin air. You have the right to remain silent, criminal scum. You've condemned this city, Hector said with vindictiveness, as Wardrobe put handcuffs on him. My elder son will take over now, and there will be blood in the streets. You will see. After me, the flood. Don't push it, Louis 16, Felix replied, as he and Reload dragged the chairman outside his property. You deserve the guillotine. Louis 15. Ryan complained through his private line with Livia, furious at his kitten's error. This is a reference to Louis 15, not Louis 16. Livia, how could you date this uncultured boor? Let him eat cake, Livia replied, before emerging from a cloud in her full, red glory. The Opie's armor fit her even better than Ryan thought. Its sleek crimson steel espoused her form like a second skin, while her retractable tentacles waited for activation. She had a hard time managing her jetpack though. Marry me, ma bourgeois, Ryan asked playfully. Maybe later, she replied with the same tone, this time close enough that the courier could hear without the intercom. So? Do we start now? 1 second, Ryan said, as he switched to lens feed. He wanted to witness this, and to offer words of comfort to his sister. Len had stopped mourning her father, and instead moved to the control panel overseeing the creature's prison. Enrique and Dr. Tyranno stood nearby, observing her. The former with guilt and compassion, the latter with curiosity. What are you doing? The reptilian genius asked his underwater counterpart. Trying. One last thing, Len said, before introducing a bottled chemical agent through a hole in the control panel. The machinery transferred the rainbow-colored substance into Bloodstream's prison. This cure, developed through their group's research into the psycho condition and Mongrel's power, should in theory restructure Bloodstream's genetic code and make him human again. This was the last hope of a despairing daughter to save the father she had loved. But some things couldn't be changed, no matter how one tried. Ryan knew that all too well. It's not working. Len lamented, as the red blob absorbed the substance without changing back. The creature had mutated too much, halfway transforming into a denizen of the higher-colored dimensions. The monster of Ryan's childhood had become something beyond human, beyond reason. It's not working. She didn't sound angry, or even surprised. Just sad. The father she had loved was long dead, and would never come back. I'm sorry, Ryan apologized. Though he felt nothing but disdain for Bloodstream, he understood his adoptive sister's palpable sorrow. I knew it. He could sense the sob she struggled to suppress. I knew it before I tried, Rere. But I still hoped. What will you do now? Enrique asked. Somehow, Ryan had the feeling he wouldn't interfere, no matter what Len chose. He probably believed, much like the courier, that a daughter was entitled to deciding her father's fate. Len's voice turned deeper, firmer. She had moved from denial and bargaining to acceptance. What needs to be done? Ryan watched, as she slowly started activating Tyranno's failsafe. The good doctor quickly tried to protest. Sir, there will never be another genome with this exact power combination, the genius pleaded with his superior. Its destruction will ruin years of research. We have other means to make your dream a reality, Doctor, the CBO replied, looking at Bloodstream. Methods that won't compromise our conscience. Ryan half expected Dr. Tyranno to fight back, but the reptile was no combatant, and the promise of being allowed to continue working on his dream of dinosaurhood mollified him. When all that stood between Bloodstream and destruction was Len's finger, his daughter sighed, and looked at her sire one last time. Perhaps she remembered all the good times she shared with him, as well as the bad, before taking her final decision. "Goodbye, Father," Len said with sorrow. Shorty pushed the button, and sprinklers flooded Bloodstream's container with chemicals. Without the added strength of Len's blood agent to make Bloodstream immune to it, Dr. Tyranno's security system worked as advertised. His cure destroyed the monstrous cells, grinding them down into formless organic goo. The red alien Shoggoth Freddy Sabino had slowly started turning white, its eyes losing their colors. The creature didn't even seem to suffer. This was euthanasia, plain and simple. Ryan knew he should have felt happy and relieved. He had longed for his adoptive father's demise, hated him with all his heart. He had nursed that grudge like a worm in an apple. But now, as he watched Len silently put a hand against the glass as life left the creature, the courier could only share some of her sorrow. Though Ryan knew him, there was a good man inside that thing once. A father lost to madness and the alchemist's cruel disregard for life. And now, that man would only live in his daughter's memories. "Whatever happens, I will always be there for you," Ryan promised his sister. He wanted to be in the same room as her, to hold Len in his arms and comfort her one last time. "You're not alone." Me too, Rere. I'll always be there." Len cut the video feed, though her voice kept echoing through the communicator. "But not today. Leave me alone a moment with him. Please." Ryan cut the communication, focusing on the moment. Livia had great difficulty remaining stationary, instead making ridiculous figures in the air. "Are you done struggling to fly straight?" the courier asked, before frowning behind his helmet. "Unless you're trying to cheer me up?" "A bit of both," she replied while stabilizing her flight somewhat. Seeing alternate selves learning how to pilot does not equal gaining their skill. "How did you end up learning how to pilot a flying suit?" "I don't remember, to be honest," Ryan admitted. "I mastered jetpacks like 300 years ago." "Is there a skill you haven't mastered?" "Ice skating." This made her laugh. "Miss Auguste, do you know how to skate on ice and snow?" "I do," his girlfriend replied playfully. "And I could teach you. If you promise to cheer up." Ryan looked in the direction of Dynamis HQ. "I am cheering up." "Ryan." "I don't know," the courier replied. "I've hated him with all my heart. Wished him dead. I should feel joy and closure, not this." A huge burden had been lifted off from his shoulders, yet it left a bitter taste in his mouth. "I guess I feel sad for Len and it bleeds through." His words didn't fool Olivia. "I don't think so, Ryan. I think you feel pity for her father, because you understand that unlike the likes of Adam, he didn't choose to become what he was. A part of you truly wanted to see him cured." Ryan remembered one of Bloodstream's rants, when he had caught his daughter taking her elixir. The psycho had said that he took 2 potions to better protect her in a hostile world, and these words had stayed with his adoptive son years afterward. Maybe she had a point. A part of him still pitied Freddy Sabino for making an uninformed choice for selfless reasons, and paying the price since. He had moved beyond his burning hatred for his adoptive father, and found some embers of compassion left. "But if my words can't cheer you up," Olivia said, shyly moving her hands behind her back. "How about we dance?" "A dance?" Ryan asked, surprised by the offer. "I like dancing," his girlfriend admitted. "But I've never tried with a partner I can't guess the steps of. Besides, we only have very little time left." Alphonse was on the way. "Here's my offer." Ryan extended his hand at her, eager to take his mind off Bloodstream's death. "I teach you how to dance in the skies, and you train me for the Winter Olympics." "That depends." She giggled. "Are you a good dancer, Mr. Romano?" "Oh, she dared challenge him? The very best, Ryan replied, taking her hand into his own. Like no one ever was. And so, they waltzed in the skies. As the couple made circles in the skies above New Rome, their armor's backpacks opened and released a green dust upon the city below. The wind carried it like pollen, spreading this strange cure to the population. Unknown to all, a new, friendly virus had infected New Rome's population. One that would destroy all traces of Dynamis knockoffs in people's blood, purifying them. Many would-be genomes would wake up tomorrow morning far more human than the day before. They would probably curse Ryan, unaware of the grim fate they had been spared from. Unaware that they spread the cure each time they breathed. On the ground, Ryan's other allies distributed the cure from high positions, or even through the city's water system. In weeks, all of Europe would have caught the cure flu, exercising bloodstream's ghost from the population. The courier relished in his armor's smooth controls and speed, as he and Livia spread the cure to Rust Town, the Augustes territories, and the city's center. Thanks to data gathered in the alchemist's lab, Ryan had added quite a few surprises to his suit. Among other upgrades, he had combined the Fisty Brothers to the gauntlets, which now included a red flux shockwave projector based on Bianca's power. A blue flux-powered computer all but eliminated lag time inside the armor, making the armor move like a second skin. Orange flux would reinforce the shielding in a pinch, and green flux would heal Ryan if he suffered internal injuries. Yellow flux should provide a defense against conceptual attacks, and white flux made them all work harmoniously. 6 flux-based batteries, one for each color except Ryan's violet, provided the energy inside his backpack. Without as many allies to generate the necessary flux, this upgrade would have been impossible. From the Panda to Jerome, and even Shorty, everyone had contributed. Last but not least, Shorty had included a miniaturized version of Dynamis gravity gun in his chest. Ryan intended to keep the trump card a secret until the time came to send Lightning Butt to a retirement home. He hoped it would make a difference in the fight to come. "He's here, Ryan," Livia warned, as she entered the dance. "Already? How?" Even if he had been warned as soon as Enrique set foot in lap 66, no plane or helicopter could fly all the way from Sicily in such a short amount of time. Ryan realized his mistake, as he noticed a bright red star appearing right above the twilight sun. His armor's camera quickly provided a larger image, showing a titan of black metal propelled by a wave of red flux. Alphonse Fallout Manada had ridden the atom all the way to New Rome. "Anxious?" Livia asked, as the red star became brighter and brighter. "A bit," Ryan admitted. "Last time we fought, he killed my entire team. But you didn't have me." Without false modesty, the two of us together. Livia put a hand on her waist, and adopted a fabulous pose worthy of a gangstar. "We're invincible." Chapter 125. Ryan had seen what Fallout could do in the past, and so he didn't fool around. "We have to keep him away from populated areas," he informed Livia, as the two flew high above New Rome to meet with the incoming red comet. "When he's angry enough, he doesn't care about collateral damage anymore. And since we have trashed his life's work, he will get a bit unstable." Livia finished his sentence with a chuckle. "That one was terrible, Ryan. I'm keeping the best ones for later," the courier said. The armored duo made contact with Fallout hundreds of meters above the Gulf of Naples. Dynamis' red genome appeared in all his shining glory, propelling himself through the skies by projecting two crimson streams of energy from his hands. The cyborg towered above both Ryan and Livia in size, even with their armor on. They might as well have been two GIs facing a flying tank. Fallout's fiery skull looked at the duo from behind its protective dome, his empty eyes burning with atomic rage. "Out of my way!" he shouted before going straight for the kill. The missile launchers on his shoulders activated and unleashed a volley of rockets at Ryan, who had reached him first. The courier responded by activating his power, freezing 24 projectiles in place. He raised his hands and activated the gauntlet weapons. To his relief, they worked perfectly in the frozen time, unleashing two red shockwaves in the cyborg's direction. They detonated all the rockets in their way, and hit Fallout head-on. The impact and explosions propelled the surprised Alphonse Manada off his flight course when time resumed, almost making him fall in the Mediterranean Sea below. Yet though his method lacked the elegance and maneuverability of Ryan's jetpack, he managed to stabilize his course. This frozen time. The corporate cyborg glared at Ryan. You were quick save. A question. 10 can, Ryan replied, as he attempted to engage the cyborg in close combat. Is your zodiac sign Cancer? Instead of battering back, Alphonse Manada adjusted his flight to move out of Ryan's way. I should have killed you long ago, the cyborg said, using one hand to keep himself afloat, and pointing the other at Ryan. I will correct that mistake here. The courier barely had the time to blink as a dazzling red beam illuminated the sky. As a chill went down his SP, time skipped forward, and when it resumed, Ryan had moved to Fallout's left. The surprised cyborg didn't have the time to react, as Livia engaged him in melee. 8 telescopic black tentacles surged from her armor's back, each moving as swiftly as a serpent. They struck Fallout in the shoulders, tearing off the missile launchers integrated into his cybernetic apparatus, and in the chest. Steel claws at the end of the artificial arms tore through the dynamous cyborg's shielding. What a waste, Livia said with a giggle. A nuclear waste. Ryan wasn't certain whether to groan or laugh. Fallout responded by activating the energy minigun in his right arm, forcing Ryan and Livia to fly away. You can't defeat me, he snarled angrily, though the courier struggled to hear him over the sound of plasma shots surging through the air. I survived Augustus. You can't, an explosion echoed in the distance, coming straight from Dynamis HQ. The cyborg briefly interrupted his barrage of attacks to glance in its direction, his skull's glowing dimming in horror. Smoke came out of the building's top, as Enrique's team destroyed the floor holding Lab 66. No, no. Fallout's shock turned into despair and panic. No. Instead of continuing his offensive, the cyborg flew straight towards the Dynamis HQ in a desperate attempt to salvage the situation. Oh no you don't, Ryan said, as he immediately gave chase. Fallout opened fire at point-blank range to make him back off, and Livia activated her. When time resumed, Ryan's fist punched Fallout in his glass dome helmet. The courier was intangible inside his girlfriend's skip time, making him invulnerable to Fallout's attacks. Their abilities were powerful on their own, but together, as Livia said, invincible. Fallout's glass dome cracked while he lost control of his flight. Instead of landing in the Dynamis-controlled district, the cyborg ended up falling into the Mediterranean Sea. The water's surface turned to steam when Alphonse Manada fell into the ocean, the red genome vanishing beneath the waves. Though Ryan hoped that Dynamis didn't make the cybersuit waterproof, he wasn't naive enough to think the battle was over. You think he's fond of sea mushrooms? He asked his girlfriend, hovering above the water while waiting for Fallout to resurface. An area hundreds of meters wide started to boil, though the courier couldn't pinpoint the source. That would be a concern, Livia replied, as she looked at the sea. She was probably trying to look through possibilities in order to locate the nuclear disaster. Cooked fish started rising to the surface. Nice reference, though Ryan wondered if many people would have gotten it. Hey, princess, did you know I visited their particle accelerator? I'm sure they were thankful for the exposure, she replied, before pointing a telescopic arm at a spot to her left. Here, Ryan. The courier unleashed shockwaves at the target, sending splashes in all directions. The water vibrated around the point of impact, but Ryan couldn't tell if he had hit Fallout. Why hasn't he emerged yet? He asked his girlfriend. The man was as durable as Leo Hargraves. A dive shouldn't be anything more than an inconvenience. Livia froze, before quickly grabbing her boyfriend by the arm. Higher. The duo immediately flew away from the sea, just as a crimson light erupted from below the waves. A catastrophic explosion unleashed tons of boiled water into the skies, like an underwater volcano erupting beneath the sea. Though Ryan and Livia fled to safety, a cloud of steam swallowed their vision and obscured their sensors. When they managed to escape from it, The duo noticed a bright crimson glow beneath raging waves of boiled water. A light moving towards New Rome's shore. "He's running on the ocean floor," Livia warned. Ryan unleashed shockwaves from above at the light's source, sending splashes in all directions, but failing to even slow Fallout's advance down. "Damn, he's using the water as a shield." No wonder the corpo hadn't emerged yet. Where will he emerge? The ship graveyard, his beloved oracle predicted, the two immediately flying after the light. "He's shedding his suit." Shit, that wasn't optimal. The ship graveyard was empty, doubly so after Shroud moved his base to the bunker, but they were within working distance of inhabited districts. The same thought had clearly crossed his girlfriend's mind. "Ryan, how fast can you activate the gravity gun?" "Almost immediately, but I will send him to space if I do that," Ryan reminded her. "His brother won't be happy. I would rather suffer Blackthorn's wrath than see people die. It will happen if he is allowed to march past the harbor." "You see it happen?" She answered his question with a grim nod. "Damn." Ryan immediately sent a distress signal to his allies on the ground, asking them to evacuate the locals. The duo reached the shore first, making circles above the ship graveyard between Rust Town and the old harbor. Only crabs inhabited the rusted wrecks of tankers laying on the sandy shore, and Shroud's warehouse had been left gathering dust. After making sure no one had accidentally wandered into this perimeter, the couple waited for Fallout to resurface. And resurface he did. By the time Fallout reached the shallow waters, the sea around the ship graveyard had started evaporating. A dense cloud of steam swallowed the shipwrecks, and a glowing ghost emerged from the shadow of a supertanker. Alphonse Manada had shed his cybernetic armor like a snake, revealing himself in all his radioactive glory. His body had become nothing more than a black, charred skeleton with radioactive fire for flesh, and red flux particles for smoke. "I recognize your power, Auguste," he rasped while looking up at Livia, his voice sounding like smoldering fire. "Is this a declaration of war? Has your father grown so old and craven that he sends his daughter to fight his battles?" "This has nothing to do with my father, and all to do with you," Livia replied, even as the temperature kept climbing. The very sand turned to glass beneath Manada's feet. "And you are misplaced to mock my father, considering you committed the same exact crime. You've poisoned thousands." This time, Alphonse Manada furiously raised his right hand at the duo. "I saved thousands," he snarled, his fingers shining like the sun. "I gave the common people the power to defend themselves." A mighty, house-sized stream of red particles erupted from his palm. Ryan and Livia split in two directions, both to dodge the attack and distract Dynamis Vice President. "The lab is already gone, and Bloodstream destroyed," Ryan argued, trying to distract the maddened nuclear disaster. "What is there left for you to fight for?" "Everything," Fallout replied, though he focused his blasts on Livia. Thankfully, the seer leveraged her armor's superior mobility to dodge the attacks. "We've got more than enough data to restart our knockoff production elsewhere." "We disseminated a vaccine, Chernobyl," Ryan replied before freezing time and letting it resume right before he punched Alphonse Manada in the face. "It's over." His fisty gauntlet hit Fallout in the jaw. The red genome didn't even flinch. Ryan might as well have hit a steel wall. "Can you even fathom how powerful I am?" Fallout's hand surged for the courier's armored fist with blinding speed, grabbing him before he could back away. The red genome pulled Ryan closer, gazing into the helmet's lens with his fiery eyes. "Did you think I wore that armor for my own protection?" Ryan defended his vital space with shock waves, but they proved no more effective than a breeze. Fallout grabbed both of the courier's wrists with his own hands, and started crushing the gauntlets with his sheer strength. "I destroyed a city the day I took my elixir," Alphonse Manada said, the light around him growing more and more intense. The Saturn armor's sensors quickly issued heat and radiation warnings, orange flux spreading through the shielding to increase its resistance. "Wiped it from the map. I couldn't control my power, and I killed thousands. Even now, it takes all my self-control not to burn this city to ash." "No, you madman." Livia attempted to rescue her boyfriend from above, sending her telescopic tentacles to restrain the maddened corpo. Their steel, weaker than the Saturn armors, melted before they could even touch him. There are thousands living nearby. I swore all these deaths wouldn't be in vain, Fallout rasped, his face blinding. That I wouldn't stop fighting for the good of all, no matter what I was up against. No matter what I had to do. He's going to blow himself up, Ryan realized in horror, as the red flux around Fallout turned into a cloud. Putting all available power in the jetpack, the courier pushed Alphonse Manada backward in an attempt to put as much distance between the living bomb and New Rome. The cloud became blinding, and Ryan felt a shiver go down his spine as Fallout exp. The explosion was still ongoing after the Temescap. To Ryan's perception, an ocean of fire swallowed him from all sides. Though the improved Saturn armor's shielding had been designed to resist hits from Augustus, the courier still felt it buckle against the sheer power of the blast. Some of the heat bypassed the orange flux-powered steel around the chest and burnt the skin beneath. Ryan hit something hard head first, his vision blurring. When the fires died down and the courier could see again, he found himself at the heart of an enormous crater. Alphonse Manada had devastated the entire graveyard, annihilating the nearest tanker, turning the whole beach to molten sand, and vaporizing all water in the vicinity. Shroud's warehouse had been blown away, a ship husk sent flying more than 50 meters closer to the shore. Ryan heard alarms and private security sirens coming from the old harbor, the blast shockwave having shattered old glass windows over a vast radius. An enormous pillar of smoke rose a few meters away from the courier, darkening the skies. And at the edge of the crater, Ryan noticed Livia's armored hand sticking out of the molten glass. At this moment, the courier's brain stopped thinking, and his body moved on autopilot. Livia. Ryan hastily rose to his feet, his armor's servos grinding in the knees. He immediately attempted to fly to her, but the blast had damaged his jetpack. He froze, upon noticing movements inside the smoke pillar. Still alive? Though his fiery radiance had dimmed, Alphonse Manada emerged from the smoke unscathed. In this moment, he looked so very much like a demon rising from the depths of hell. I will need to kill Vulcan too, and make sure she never creates something like this armor again. What did you do? Ryan hissed, struggling to hear his own words. His ears felt off, muffled. Alphonse rolled his shoulders. What good is seeing the future, if you can't avoid it? Livia's ability was limited in its duration. The madman had sustained his blast for at least half a minute, preventing her from escaping its radius. No. She could have escaped, but she couldn't see Ryan. Couldn't make sure he would survive. She had stayed for him. If it hadn't benefited from the Temescap's intangibility, the Saturn armor wouldn't have survived the explosion. Even now, the blast had annihilated the paint job and most of the outer shielding, revealing the circuits beneath the metal plates. Ryan's fist clenched as a wave of green flux overwhelmed his vision. The pain from his burnt skin vanished and his ears worked normally again, as his armor's secondary systems repaired his flesh. Though the courier wanted to rush to his girlfriend's side immediately, Fallout clearly wouldn't let him. You could have blown up the whole district, Ryan accused the corpo with fury, as he adopted a fighting stance. I would rather burn half this city than give an inch to your kind, Alphonse replied callously, his left hand shining with red flux. And once you are dead too, I will dissect your sister, make her cough up that precious blood of hers, and repair the damage you caused. If Livia's condition hadn't made Ryan want to see the corpo dead, that comment sealed his fate. Fallout let out a snarl as he lunged at the courier, his left hand aiming for the chest. He would tear through what remained of the Saturn armor, and incinerate the organs underneath. Do you know what your mom and a nuclear reactor have in common? Ryan asked, right as he activated his own power. Blackness shrouded the courier's hands as time froze to a crawl, devouring red flux particles like a black hole consumed light. I don't get in without protection. Ryan's right hand met Fallout's left, the black flux disintegrating the corpo's fingers, palm, and entire forearm. When time resumed, Alphonse Manada didn't immediately register what happened. Until the pain made itself known. Fallout let out a roar, as he suddenly registered the damage. His fiery gaze dimmed, as he looked at his severed arm. What? He could only say. Give me an inch, I'll take the arm, Ryan said with a cold voice, before raising his hand in a karate chop and freezing time again. You destroyed a city when you gained your power. His blackened palm hit Alphonse's right shoulder like a scythe, severing the whole arm. I destroyed time. Fallout let out a scream of pain as time resumed, his severed right arm collapsing into a harmless shroud of red particles. Ryan suspected that much like Sunshine, the atomic disaster had a solid core somewhere. The time traveler would just have to peel him like an apple, until he found it. How? Even Augustus. The now armless Fallout took a step back, his ghoulish jaw twisting into a new expression. Fear. On your knees, before I cut off the legs too, Ryan warned. I swore not to kill you, but you don't want to know what I can make you live through. Fallout clenched his teeth and glanced at his severed arms. His stumps shone with a crimson glow, but his arms didn't regrow. Fine, he said, the rest of his body brightening to explode once again. Enough, a familiar voice said from above the two combatants. The light in Fallout's body died out, as a new duo made its presence known. Wyvern was flying above the graveyard, holding an unmasked Enrique like a blushing bride. She slowly descended on the glass ground, before letting her on-and-off boyfriend walk on his feet. We will take it from here, Enrique told Ryan. As he spoke, enormous roots broke through the crater's edge, gently excavating Olivia from below the debris. She will need immediate medical attention. If she is dead, he will follow, Ryan warned, a finger pointed at Fallout. I know, Enrique said with a sigh. But let me try. Ryan glared at Fallout, before deciding Livia's life was more important. The courier left the Manada siblings and Wyvern to settle things, while the Roots gently laid his girlfriend on the ground. Thankfully, she had been at a healthy distance from the blast epicenter and the armor was top-notch quality. The flames had seared the shielding, but Ryan could hear her breath underneath. Livia. Ryan immediately removed Livia's helmet, letting her platinum hair flow out. Livia's eyes fluttered, and she couldn't look at Ryan straight. She must have had a concussion. I'm all right. No, she wasn't. But she was alive, and Ryan immediately gave her first aid. Meanwhile, Fallout's temperature had fallen down to a hot summer's heat and his red flux particles had become no more than a faint glow around his bones. Enrique. When he realized that his brother and bodyguard would make no move to stop Ryan, Alphonse Manada realized the truth. What have you done? What I should have done years ago, Enrique replied, unflappable. Father has been arrested for trafficking with the Meta Gang, and Freddy Sabino has been permanently destroyed. His daughter saw to it. Fallout's jaw clenched so tightly that Ryan wondered if it would break. You let her? I did. You acted behind my back. Fallout snarled at his brother, smoke rising from below his feet. Though Ryan let Livia's head rest on his lap, he glanced in the Manada siblings' direction, just in case it degenerated. Though Enrique remained outwardly calm, the rose on his suit lost a few petals. Like you did once. It is not a pleasant thing, you will agree. Why? Alphonse's voice turned from anger to sorrow. Why betray our dream? I betrayed our dream when I didn't blow the whistle on the knockoffs, the CBO replied. I betrayed my conscience when I let this mess fester. But enough is enough. I'm setting my foot down. It's not too late, Fallout said, in complete denial. We have knockoff caches left in Spain and Sicily. With Tyranno's help, we can recreate. We will recreate nothing, Enrique said. I already sent orders to have the caches destroyed, and Dr. Stitch's vaccine will make those you managed to hide useless. The carnival? Fallout looked up at the semi-unconscious Livia in shock. Impossible. They would never work with her. We all worked together on this case, Wyvern said with an angry frown. Don't you see that this was madness from the start? A better world cannot rise as long as their kind, Alphonse glared at the wounded Livia, holds all the power. When some can summon lightning and others don't, the world becomes unjust. Only when everyone is a genome will we have equality. says the guy selling his knockoffs at 50,000 euros a bottle, Ryan replied dryly, not even sparing the corpo a glance. Livia managed to form a smile on her lips, her boyfriend caressing her cheek. That time will come by itself, Enrique argued. I have seen the data. Children of normal people and genomes always get superpowers. In time, everyone will have them. In time, but Augustus is here now. Alphonse shook his head. We have to fight him, using all the weapons at our disposal. The ends don't justify the means, Enrique replied. I see that now. The reprehensible means you would employ will discredit the good end we seek to achieve. I sent you reports about bloodstream's instability. We can patch it out, Fallout argued. We have the geniuses. You are not cloning me again, Wyvern said with a dangerous tone. If it were up to me, I would have dragged you in the same cell as your father. You both disgust me. Do you think I liked it? Alphonse replied angrily. While you were playing heroes for the cameras, I was fighting Augustus' armies in Malta. Without the knockoffs, we can't hope to challenge his forces head-on. Blackthorn sighed. Brother, you sacrifice so much for this project that you won't even consider better alternatives. There is none. Fallout's skull flashed with bright red light. Step aside, brother. If we capture Augustus' daughter, maybe we can salvage this. No, Blackthorn replied calmly. Enrique. The living meltdown's voice turned threatening. Step aside. In response, Enrique pointed a finger at his forehead. Then kill me, he said softly. This made Wyvern flinch, and Fallout pause. Ryan checked if his gravity gun still worked, and immediately armed it when the Saturn armor's sensors confirmed it. Brother, you don't know what you say, Fallout said, surprised by the reaction. He must have expected his brother to go along with his plans, instead of setting his foot down. I know, and I won't budge on this matter. Enrique kept pointing an index finger at his forehead, his gaze strong as steel. If you want to continue this madness, then you will have to kill me. If you want total control of Dynamis and recreate that damned project, you will have to step over my corpse. You've gone mad. Fallout said. For the love of the mother who bore us, no, Enrique replied, gently, but firmly. Behind, Wyvern looked at him with newfound respect. When we were children, before the elixirs. You told me it was us against the world. I never forgot. Unlike our father, deep down, I know your heart is in the right place. Then you know my cause is just, Alphonse replied. Yes, but not the methods. But there is still hope for you. Enrique offered his brother his hand. I want us to work together towards a brighter future, Towards a world ruled by law, not by strength or money. With our allies and geniuses, we can find a better, healthier way to give people the power to defend themselves. We could even drag Augustus down from his throne. Together, we can do anything. The heavy silence that followed felt heavier than a mountain. Both brothers faced each other in silence, neither willing to make a move. Wyvern tensed up, and Ryan prepared to fire his weapon at any moment. Please, Enrique pleaded. As he lacked any facial expression, Ryan couldn't guess what went through Fallout's head. Most probably, he suddenly realized how much he would have to sacrifice for his dream, and if it was even worth it. Continuing down this path would mean losing his brother, but Alphonse Manada had never flinched at atrocities to see his vision come true. As his jaw clenched and unclenched, Ryan remembered something very important about the elder Manada sibling. All for the dream, Fallout said, his body releasing a cloud of red flux. He never knew when to stop. Ryan tried to freeze time and attack, but someone beat him to it. A click sound echoed right behind Fallout. The living meltdown barely had the time to look over his shoulder, as a black sphere materialized in his back. An invisible force pulled the former cyborg towards the device, alongside the glass shards in close proximity to him. Wyvern had to grab Enrique by the shoulder to prevent him from joining his brother, as Fallout's spine impacted on the black sphere. The black object immediately surged towards the skies at a blinding speed and took Alphonse Manada with it. By the time the nuclear meltdown understood what was happening, it was already too late. In the blink of an eye, he vanished beyond the clouds. Ryan looked up to watch red flashes and explosions in the skies, each more distant than the last. Shroud dropped his invisibility, a layer of glass covering a technologically advanced rifle. Dynamic gravity gun. Alphonse Manada had funded the weapon to defeat Augustus, and now ended up as its victim. "I'm sorry, Enrique," Wyvern said, as she attempted to comfort her manager. "I'm deeply sorry. It had to be done," the corpo said with a sorrowful sigh, his eyes trailing after his brother's comet tail. "Is she all right?" Shroud asked Ryan, glancing at Livia with genuine concern. "I already called Stitch for reinforcement." Livia squinted. "I'm fine." "You will need rest," Ryan replied. As a genome, her enhanced metabolism had spared her brain damage, but it would take her time to recover. His eyes wandered to Ischia Island in the distance. They had cured New Rome of one poison, but another remained. Chapter 126, Dynamis stock price has steadily crumbled since the disturbing revelations about their knockoff elixirs, and public outcry from former clients who recently lost their expensively purchased powers, the newscaster said on the hospital room's TV. Ryan squinted, as a video of Alphonse Manada's explosion appeared behind the Incorewoman. The quality was terrible, probably due to radiation interferences, though one could see Wyvern and Enrique flying towards the blast source. Dynamis spokesperson confirmed that Alphonse Manada, alias Fallout, was responsible for the explosion that shook the old harbor. The reasons for this action remain obscure for now, though Wyvern affirmed that the now former vice president is now safely out of commission. The next images then showed the cyborg's ejection into space. Only Ryan and Livia's armors had been caught on tape, with the latter's face and identity remaining mercifully hidden. The new acting chairman, Enrique Blackthorne Manada, promised a full indemnity to the victims of both incidents and a public trial to judge the responsible. His actions have so far been met with division among staff. "I still can't believe they came clean," Matthias said, sitting on a chair near the window with his arms crossed. Ryan himself occupied the seat closest to Livia's bed, Henriette snoring at his feet while Jean-Henri unilaterally decided to occupy his lap. The courier had traded his damaged Saturn armor for his stylish suit, at least until he could repair it. "I thought they would at least sugarcoat the truth, not spill everything to the press." "It was necessary," Livia replied, wearing a white gown and bandages around her forehead. Braindead's operation had prevented brain damage from her close brush with Fallout, but it would take her a few days to recover. "You cannot learn from your mistakes without owning up to them." Enrique understood that, and Wyvern all the more. After the battle with Fallout, Enrique had the group transported to Dynamis Hospital, with Stitch and Alchimo tending to their wounds. Thankfully, Ryan's evacuation warning had borne fruit, and though some locals had been wounded when Alphonse detonated himself, nobody had perished. The perfect run had been preserved. At least, for the moment. Waves of resignations continue after Illinois Migliori's disbandment, the newscaster continued. The Wyvern promised that I quote, clean and non-profit law enforcement organization would take its place. The fate of many heroes remain uncertain. Ryan deactivated the TV. "How long before thunder strikes?" he asked his girlfriend. "Not long," she admitted, looking away through the windows and the veil of time both. "Things are moving quicker than I expected. Vulcan has already left the Augusti. My father learned of Wyvern's visit and has ordered her death." Ryan's heart skipped a beat. "Is she going to make it?" To his relief, Livia answered with a nod. "Thankfully, Vulcan was no fool and spied on my father's communications." "It doesn't bode well if he's already purging his own ranks though," Matthias said with a frown. The seer nodded slowly. "Fallout's defeat and Hector's arrest have him on edge. If it's too good to be true, it probably is." Ryan guessed. "Yes. He will make a push to take over New Rome, but he is smelling a trap." Livia sighed. "His forces will move into Rust Town anytime soon. And if left to their own devices, they will find the bunker. I will repair the Saturn armor one last time, and destroy the base," Ryan replied, rising from his seat. Jean-Henri immediately leapt from his lap to Livia's. "Looking Glass, you gather the others. Livia, you stay here." "I won't," she replied, biting her lip. "Uncle Neptune will soon pick me up to take me to Sorrento's. My father won't let me stay in a dynamis hospital while he's plotting their destruction." Matthias frowned, but shrugged. "Well, we have prepared for the attack for days. We can do it without you." "I wish I could supervise the assault," Livia said with regret. "To make sure it goes well." "You could supervise it from afar," Matthias pointed out. "My mother did that with a carnival, and it worked very well for them." The fact that he was willing to relinquish command to Livia at all surprised Ryan. The courier guessed that watching her take wounds in an attempt to protect New Rome from fallout helped build trust between them. "My uncle won't let me out of his sight." Livia joined her hands, while Jean-Henri nuzzled her fingers. I will try to find an opening." "No," Ryan insisted. "If Brain Dead says you should rest, then you will. If you don't, he's likely to put your brain in a jar, and you truly don't want that." Livia pouted. "Ryan, I can't stand back while you and the others risk your lives cleaning up my family's messes. You helped us clean our own with Bloodstream, and the Metagan too," Matthias replied. "To each their turn." Livia frowned, and refused to stay idle. "I can at least make some calls. This will be a game of rock paper scissors, and I can bring more counters to the table." Ryan squinted. "Did you set up everything so that we would have the perfect people assembled for the job?" She answered with a sly, foxy grin. "I would be a poor seer if I didn't. I love it when you're in a mastermind mode, pulling strings from the shadows. All is going according to plan." Her smile faltered. "I hope." Ryan glanced at his translucent friend. "Maddie, can you leave us for a second?" "I will brief the others," the vigilante replied, before taking the door. Livia exchanged a heavy glance with her boyfriend. "Ryan, after destroying the island." She cleared her throat. "You're going immediately after him, aren't you?" "Alone?" "Yes. If lightning but didn't come for his head first." Ryan expected the madman to get off his mountain after watching Ischia Island go down in smoke. "It will be all right. I won't kill him. It's not his life I fear for." "You can't save." "Didn't anyone tell you?" Ryan asked with a smirk that didn't reach the ears. "I'm immortal. Don't joke about this." Her startling reaction took her boyfriend aback and woke up Henriette. Livia closed her eyes, but failed to suppress tears forming at the edge. She took a deep breath as the dog started licking her fingers to console her, and sobbed. "Ryan, the man I love is about to go fight my father. And one of them might not come back." When she opened her eyes again, Ryan could see the fear and dread in them. "Either he will kill you and you may not restart, or you risk permanently landing a killing blow. And I can't do anything to prevent it." "Livia," Ryan began. She didn't let him finish. "I know you're trying to comfort me, tell me it's all right, but it's not. Ryan, your sister just euthanized her father, and Enrique Manada arrested his own before banishing his brother into space. Even if both hoped it would end otherwise, they accepted that it couldn't. While I still can't, Ryan." Ryan listened in respectful silence, letting her say what weighed on her mind. Instead of answering with words, he sat on the bed and gently wiped away the tears. "I'm scared, Ryan," she confessed, taking his hands into her own and squeezing his fingers. "I'm scared because I've seen how it could end, but not how it will. I thought I wanted to be surprised, but not like this." "Livia, do you remember what you told me at the restaurant the other night?" Ryan asked, trying to reassure her. "That the Ultimate One guided us together, and that I should carry on to see what it had in store. Even if I couldn't save." "I said that," Livia admitted, sighing. "I thought I could shoulder the doubt back then, but now." She had wanted to reassure him. To tell him it would be okay, that it would turn out all right, the same way he tried to comfort her before. "Ryan, if you can't save. If you feel your life is in danger, in real danger, flee." "I can't, Livia. Not his style." After the destruction of his island, your thundering daddy will shock everyone he can get his metal hands on. If I can't defeat him, thousands will pay the price. I know, but there is still time to solve your save points problem. Restore that safety net at least. I think I have a solution, Ryan replied, though he doubted it would work. Still, it costs nothing to try. Trust me on this. I trust you with my life, Ryan. But I don't want this to be the last time we see each other, you understand that? She locked eyes with him, and he lost himself in the blue abyss of her gaze. Promise me that you will come back to me, all right? Just promise me. Ryan held her gaze for a while, before lightly kissing her. Her lips tasted like strawberry, soft and gentle to the touch. The contact lasted no more than a few furtive seconds, but the courier wished it had lasted a lifetime. I will, he promised. I swear. Quick save delivers, no matter how many tries it takes. It drew a tired grin from her. Make sure to succeed in one go this time. The courier smiled to hide his own unease, before petting Eugene Henry and Henriette one last time and exiting the room. He felt Livia's worried gaze on his back as he closed the door behind him. He found Len waiting outside the door, wearing her terrible jumpsuit and carrying her water rifle. "Shorty," Ryan said. "You hurt everything." "I didn't mean to." She looked at him with resolve. Although her eyes remained slightly red from dried tears, her body language appeared different. More confident. "Promise me you will come back too, Rere. Can you stop raising death flags, please?" Ryan asked. He had the intuition every promise he made jinxed him further. "Fine, I promise I will come back if it makes you feel better." I am already better." Her smile had a sorrowful edge to it, but it was a smile all the same. "Thanks to you." "The thanks are all from me, Shorty," Ryan replied. "You saved my life when you developed that mind transfer tech. In more ways than you can count. I told you before, Rere. What we have is more powerful than friendship. Whatever we are up against, I know we will face it together." She bit her lower lips. It's what Dad would have wanted, I think. My real dad, I mean. Not what he became." Ryan examined her face closely. That bittersweet expression of someone who had found an answer to a lifelong question, though it had cost her a great deal. "You've made peace with yourself?" he asked her. "I think so," Len replied. Instead of looking away, as she usually did, she held his gaze. I did all I could, Ryan. It's hard to explain, but I don't feel happy about my father's death, but I don't feel guilty anymore either. I understand, Shorty. Believe me, I do. For a long time, Riri, I thought it was my fault, she admitted. That dad wouldn't have become a monster if I could defend myself. I wanted to return my father to normal because I loved him, and because I blamed myself. You don't anymore? No, she replied while shaking her head. What happened, happened. As you said to me once. There are things you can't change. I tried the best I could. It's time I move on. I can't change the past, but I can improve the future. She had failed to save her father and would carry this pain all her life, but accepted that she couldn't have changed anything. Len Sabino had found closure. I've given some thoughts about what I should do now, Len said. I thought I would take the children away with me to the sea, but now you've changed your mind? Yes. I thought the world couldn't change. That the surface could only get worse. But her eyes shone with a hint of hope. It's getting better. We made it better. Ryan chuckled. We did, yes. If even dynamics can change, I think the world can too. Her cheeks blushed, as a shy grin formed on her lips. I've given thought about the architect. She wants to create cities, to repopulate the countries devastated by the genome wars. I think I can help. Not just help Rusttown's children, but all children across the globe. Make sure they grow up in better conditions than we did. Good luck exporting the socialist revolution, Ryan said with a chuckle, but deep down he couldn't feel prouder of her. "But it's good, Len. You'll help countless people, and not only because of your power." Len frowned. "What do you mean?" "You have a kind heart, Len, and that's what matters most, I think. Mecron, the alchemist, even Fallout. They all had the power to make the world a better and more bountiful place, but they misused their gifts. Mecron made weapons, the alchemist empowered the likes of Augustus, and Fallout lost sight of what truly mattered to him. But you, Shorty?" Ryan grinned ear to ear. "You will do great." She reddened so much that Ryan wondered if her inner Kami had come out of hiding. He decided to tease her a bit. "Did I give you diabetes with mere words?" Len answered his jab with a sisterly hug. He let her arms move around his back, and his around her. He listened to her slow breathing, as his mind wandered to his first family. It had been almost 9 centuries since his parents perished at the hands of raiders, so long that he could barely remember how they looked, or even their names. Ryan had been 12 when Bloodstream and Len found him hiding in his home's wreckage, a lost child with nothing. Though he had lost a family of blood that day, he had gained another forged in sweat and tempered with struggles. A sister he loved dearly. "Thanks, Riri," Len said, before breaking the hug. "We can discuss our future after we win, all right?" "Yes, indeed." After they won. In the depths of Mecron's bunker, Ryan laid on an operation table clad in his Saturn armor as robotic arms repaired Fallout's damage. Since he wouldn't have the opportunity to improve upon the design further, the courier had taken the opportunity to install a few upgrades. The most important of all was a system based on the mechanism his team's geniuses developed to discuss with elixirs. "Can you hear me?" he asked, his helmet's lens shifting with the elixir's rainbow colors. A voice channel opened, as his armor's computer translated his words into flux signals. The synthetic voice that answered through the channel was unlike the one he heard while in the Black World. But Ryan knew, deep within his bones, to whom it belonged. Ryan. His elixir. "You know, we've been together for a very long time," Ryan said, wincing as a robot added a new chest plate on the armor. "Yet I never learned your name." The notion seemed to amuse the elixir. "We emissaries do not have names," it said. "You may call me however you wish." Ryan gave it some thought. "Lightling?" "No, Darkling would get jealous." "How about Magenta?" "Magenta?" "Violet would have been too simple." "Or maybe you would prefer the color out of space?" "Coos." "Or the color out of time?" The elixir didn't answer immediately, but when it did, it sounded quite pleased. "I like magenta better," it said. "Better than fuchsia or purple." "How long did you ponder that one?" "Shouldn't you already know? I mean, you are inside me." Now that Ryan thought of it, it meant that his elixir had experienced everything its host did. "I am no peeper," the entity answered, vaguely amused. "We have bonded for so long that I understand human thoughts better than the rest of my kind, but it remains a second language to me. Subtleties escape me. Though I do know why you wanted to have this conversation." Ryan looked at the metal ceiling above his head. He could almost hear the Augusti troops marching above his head, hundreds of meters beyond the steel and dirt. "Why did you prevent me from saving?" "I had nothing to do with it," his elixir admitted. "All violet powers ultimately derive from the Ultimate One. As Darkling said, we are priests. We do not bring miracles. We can only ask for them." So Ryan had been right, it had been an Illuminati plot from the start. Then let me rephrase myself, why did your boss prevent me from saving? I do not know, but I can guess. Your connection to the black has grown, Ryan. Before you could barely consume Fallout's red flux, but now you could harm him directly. His elixir sounded quite concerned. Black is a sword without a hilt. Unlike other colors, it is as dangerous for its wielder as for its foes, and it feeds on the timelines you delete. If it grows too strong, it will grow uncontrollable and destroy me. Powerful as it is now, it might cause my save to go wrong. That would explain why the Ultimate One would prevent the courier from accessing his trump card, but the implications worried him greatly. If I can neither create a new save point nor die, then what will it mean when I, say, die of old age? I do not know, Ryan. But the Ultimate One sent you a message. To carry on until the end, and see what lies beyond victory. Maybe you won't die at all. Maybe you will ascend instead. I thought I closed the door when I refused to stay in the black world? Ascension is not an end, Ryan, but a process by which lesser lifeforms ascend into the cosmic beings inhabiting the higher realms. The door is always open. His elixir struggled to find the human words to explain the phenomenon. I can hardly describe it. Each ascension is unique, and you are closer to it than most. The Hargrave's lifeform too. He is trying to delay the process as long as he can, so he can stay on this earth, but eventually, he will become a bright star in the sky. If he chooses to. Ryan marked a short pause. Why me? He asked. Why am I closer? Because power is not the only thing that conditions ascension, Ryan. Wisdom is another. This is why the creatures you fought in the alchemist's ship were denied this reward. Their eyes were small, and could see no further than themselves. With cosmic powers come universal responsibilities? The courier scoffed. Yes, his elixir answered softly, its voice full of pride. We have been connected for centuries, Ryan, and you have grown with them. Time has no more secrets for you, and though the road was long and difficult, you have reached the end of your journey. It sounded like a teacher happy to see their student graduating, even though the final exam was yet to come. Do you think we can beat him? Augustus? Though Ryan always projected confidence to others to keep their hopes up, his elixir knew his thoughts. Lightning Butt was the strongest genome the courier had ever faced, and this time he wouldn't have a do-over if he failed. Can the black harm him now? Magenta was suddenly a lot less enthusiastic. Augustus is made of the strongest material in creation, and indestructible metal invulnerable to non-conceptual abilities. Even if it has grown stronger, your other power will make it possible to defeat him, not easy. So it would be victory or death. Ryan's elixir must have read his thoughts, before it immediately tried to reassure him. I have faith in you, Ryan. In us. I know we can make it. I hope so too, Ryan replied, right as the robots finished their work. The courier stepped on his feet, his steps echoing on the steel floor. Any word of advice before we go in? 1. The elixir's voice turned cold and deadly. Don't cheat on me. Ryan blinked. I beg your pardon. Now, I know you are a perfect specimen of Homo sapiens with excellent genes, so I am not surprised that some of my kindred propositioned you. Now the elixir sounded positively jealous. I am very proud that you resisted the lure of free bonding, but let this be clear, I will not tolerate elixir bigamy. I didn't carry you for over 800 years to share now. Wait, can the Ultimate One grant divorces? The courier asked playfully. That would be against my religion, but I can make this bonding a living hell. I'm joking, Ryan replied. You've been my best bud since I was 16. I'm never cheating on you. Even with Darkling. I know, Ryan. That was a joke too. The elixir sounded so serious and deadpan, that Ryan hadn't noticed. Was it funny? You've still got a few years of practice ahead of you, but I'll help. Ryan put on a cashmere poncho over the armor, as he didn't feel complete without it. Till death do us part, then. No, Ryan. Death is but a door, and the ending yet awaits us. The elixir marked a short pause, before uttering one final word. Onward. Ryan cut off the communication and prepared to activate the bunker's self-destruct mechanism, when he noticed a small, white shape in a corner of the room. The plushie stood on its 2 feet, gazing up at Ryan with its big, beautiful blue eyes. The creature didn't make a sound, nor did ominous eldritch voices echo in the room. The monster that had haunted the courier's nightmares and slaughtered its way across multiple loops now gazed at its maker with solemn silence. It looked thoughtful, for a lack of a better word. Almost sad. Why are you here, buddy? Ryan asked, a little bit scared by its unusual behavior. Let's go to Disneyland. The creature replied with its paws raised, its sorrow swiftly replaced with malice and cruelty. Ryan raised an eyebrow behind his helmet, before suddenly trying to remember Narchinia's age. And failing. No multiplication, he warned while pointing a finger at the murderous logomorph. If you mess up my perfect run, I'm never letting you disembowel anyone again. I am your friend. You are. God have mercy, they had become friends one rampage at a time. Is it about sticking it to lightning butt? The rabbit slowly nodded, as Ryan had guessed. It wanted payback for its previous defeat, and now might be its last chance to deliver. All right, the courier said. He still owed the plushie for saving him from Adam, after all. Jump inside the backpack and let's blow up Olympus. And maybe DreamWorks too, if we have enough time. The plushie cried out in joy, and climbed on Ryan's armor. The courier opened the backpack compartment, and the demonic toy vanished inside. The courier glanced around the metallic chamber, almost with a sense of sadness. Though his team had already taken away all beneficial, non-lethal technology from the bunker, it still pained Ryan to condemn this place to destruction. The sheer potential of its accumulated knowledge, centuries ahead of its time. But as Sunshine had said it, there were no right hands to use this power. I always wanted to say it, Ryan muttered to himself, as he glanced at the room's cameras. It had taken all his charm to convince Alchimo to program this specific order into Mecran's mainframe. Execute Order 66? An alarm immediately echoed across the bunker. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Explosion expected in 6 minutes. Ryan was outside in 3, though he used his power to cheat. When the countdown reached its end, the courier hovered above the empty junkyard, watching on as Augusty cars crossed the checkpoints into Rust Town. With Dynamics collapse, the guards had been either recalled back to other areas, or simply deserted. Nobody opposed the criminal syndicate's invasion. Yet, no sooner had they crossed the border that the whole district trembled. The quake wasn't powerful enough to devastate Rust Town, but Ryan couldn't say the same for the junkyard. The open garbage den collapsed on itself, its ground falling down as explosions devastated the bunker hidden beneath it. Piles of cars and trash fell into a deep gaping hole, blowing a cloud of dust into the skies. When the dirt fell down back to earth, only an abyss of smoking debris remained from the junkyard. Though the rest of Rust Town remained intact, its major landmark had vanished. Ryan wondered if it would harm the local tourist industry. A crimson light briefly glowed in the blue skies above, like a red star shining in its final death throes. The Behemoth satellite had self-destructed alongside its orbital command center, the sword of Damocles that had hung over New Rome shattering. Mecran's legacy would never haunt the world again. This last loose end closed, Ryan turned to glance at Ischia Island. He noticed the shadow of Mecran's submarine making its way there, ready to disembark troops. New Rome would have its own D-Day, with a time traveler leading the charge. Let immediately establish communication. We're waiting for you, Rere. And so, Quicksave flew on to his last battle. Tobe continued. Thanks for listening.